This is Lucky Mommy, single mom of three teenagers. Welcome to my chaos. In elementary school, I had various different jobs to try to keep a few dollars in my pocket. My brother and I did some light cleaning at one of our teachers' houses. I shoveled snow, various different jobs to try to keep a couple dollars in my pocket. And one of the benefits of having money was that I could pay my brothers to cook for me. I really did not like cooking as a kid and really didn't learn to enjoy cooking until kid three was about 3 years old or so. So I spent a lot of years and a lot of money not cooking. So the Lucky Kids really came to cooking in very different ways. And now in our home, everybody is responsible for a night. So Sunday through Thursday, each person has a night that they cook. And then Friday is leftovers, Saturday is takeout, and Sunday, maybe I cook, maybe it's kind of a free for all. It just sort of is what it is, depending on the energy of the day. So, kid three, when she was about 3 years old, we discovered that she had a nut allergy. And so that meant that bakeries were potentially dangerous to her. So she would go to her friends' birthday parties and she learned that she had to ask if there were nuts in the cake. And if they couldn't confirm that the cake was safe, then obviously she couldn't have any. So she'd come home from birthday parties and say, "Mom, can we bake a cake?" And at 3 years old, she learned how to measure, how to mix the ingredients in the right order and the right combinations, how to pour, and she could pretty much do everything except for putting the cake into the oven and taking the cake out of the oven. So we started baking together. And now, as a teenager, I can say to her, "Hey, I need you to whip up a cake for your brother's birthday, and I'm going to take care of all of these other things." And I can trust that she's going to bake the cake, she's going to frost it, she's going to decorate it, and it's going to be lovely. And she gets to contribute that to her brother's birthday, and I get to focus on other things that need to be done, and teamwork gets us to a great birthday party. So it's really nice to kind of be in that space with her now. When kid one was in fourth grade, I was working crazy hours, and my mom really had ownership of our house. And I have to say, she was responsible for sort of starting the process and really sort of getting us to a point where we have these independent kids, right? I can't take credit for it. My mom was the inspiration and really the driver from a young age to kind of get us to this point. So she stepped in and agreed to be nanny with the understanding that it was not a forever position. She wanted to be able to help me to get on my feet and then go on and have more adventures in her own life. So she wanted to take a vacation, and that meant kid one had to learn to cook. So we started with quesadillas. This is an easy flipping process, right? It's solid on the top, it's solid on the bottom. And so you put it on, put the ingredients in, put the top on, flip it. Really straightforward, easy way to kind of start learning how to navigate cooking and how to flip, right? And flipping is really important for just a lot of cooking, right? Add tortilla chips, fruit, and milk, and we have a meal. So we taught him the elements of a meal, right? So you don't just have like a hot dog and some milk. You have a main dish, a side dish, a fruit or vegetable, and a beverage. And so just kind of thinking about that process of like, how do you prepare a whole meal for the family? So after quesadillas, we moved on to like fish sticks and tater tots, chicken nuggets and fries, these like 2-tray oven meals. And it took a while for us to get to that because he wasn't really comfortable with the idea of using the oven, and we had to get him there. And the big thing about making the oven meals is timing it so that everything comes out at the same time instead of going in at the same time. So you put in the tray for the thing that takes 20 minutes, and then 10 minutes later, you add the tray for the thing that takes 10 minutes, and then at the end, everything is coming out at the same time and everything is hot at the same time. And so that was like an important step in terms of thinking about when I'm making a meal, my goal is that everything be hot. So how do I time things to end as opposed to timing things to start? So after a couple months of training, he was ready and able to make a full week of meals. And so Grammy could take her grand vacation and he was able to feed his family every night. And this was a huge deal, right? It was a point of pride for him. And he was really excited to be able to do that on his own with no supervision. So a few years later, the kids came into my room on Mother's Day and they brought me breakfast in bed. And it was super sweet. And on my tray was a bowl of cereal, a banana, and a cup of milk. So this was lovely, right? This is an excellent, like, little kid breakfast in bed. But I wanted them to up their game. I'm like, all right, let's see where we can go with this. So we had to learn how to make pancakes and eggs. Super messy, right? This is going to be a super messy process. It is not fun. There's going to be stuff all over the place. But once they learn to do it, it's great, right? So they learned how to make the pancakes. They learned how to make the eggs. They learned how to make hash browns. I bought a melon baller. And so that was really fun because, I could buy, a cantaloupe, watermelon, and a honeydew, and they could use the melon baller to make a really cool fruit salad. And it didn't involve, knives, right? And so they could make this without, in a safe space, right? And so the following year, after a year of practice with all of these different things, they were able to set up this whole Mother's Day spread, and it looked like, a buffet at a fancy restaurant. They were very excited. And the thing I think that's really important as we think about teaching kids to do these things is the sense of pride and accomplishment that they feel once they're able to do the full process from soup to nuts on their own. So that was the Mother's Day process. When kid one was about 12, we went down to visit Grammy in her new home down south. And, she pulled out all the stops. She made this amazing meal, roasted chicken, veggies, potatoes, the whole deal. And kid one asked me, Mom, why don't you cook like this? I was like, hey, I'm never going to cook like that, right? Like, that's how Grammy cooks. And so if you want meals like that, you should learn to cook the way Grammy does so that you can have the kinds of meals that you would like to have. So we got back home from that trip. He added chicken, potatoes, and corn to the shopping list. And so I taught him how to go online and look for recipes. And he, tried a couple different ways to make the chicken, various ways to make the potatoes. And we learned that you could put corn on the cob into the air fryer and it comes out like corn made on the grill, which is fantastic and really smoky and really yummy. So now he's able to make these meals that are much more elaborate, much more detailed. He can follow recipes, and he's really good at sort of providing and setting an example for his siblings who are also learning to make these more elaborate meals as they grow as well. So that year, he requested a cookbook for his birthday, and it was a huge win for all of us. So your action item for this week is I want you to pick a simple, age-appropriate meal that your kid can help to make. So measuring is easy for young kids, and it's also a great way for them to start to learn fractions. They can start to use the oven at about maybe 10 or 11, depending on, where you're comfortable. And we actually used a griddle instead of the stovetop for the quesadillas, the pancakes, the eggs, and things like that. And the reason for that is that I wasn't really ready for them to start interacting with fire yet. So they could put things in and take things out of the oven, and they could make things, stovetop things on the griddle, and they were able to prepare these full meals without having to deal with the fire. I also think it's fun to think about gadgets. We got a waffle maker. I mentioned the melon baller. We got a panini maker. So what are some of the gadgets that you could get that they could use to make these meals, but again, without interacting with fire and creating sort of more consolidated and safe space? This takes a lot of supervision, a lot of repetition, and you really want to think about things in terms of incremental progress. So pick one meal, work on the various different elements of that meal, give them some practice with that, and then start to add additional pieces. Your goal state is that you can say, your night is Wednesdays, And from now on Wednesdays, you're responsible for dinner. So at 5 o'clock, you should come into the kitchen, start thinking about what you want to make. Maybe you do meal planning at the beginning of the week so you know what meal's going to be made. And then at 5 o'clock, they're responsible for coming into the kitchen, preparing the meal, and then they let you know it's time for dinner and you can do other things. So I love being in this space. I love that I don't have to be responsible for dinner. If I'm out and about, if I've got something happening late at work and that kind of thing, I can like say, oh, you know what? I'm not responsible for dinner tonight. Everything's going to be fine. I don't need to worry about it. So try it out. Let me know how it goes. If you've got some tips to add, let me know what those are. If you've got questions about how we did any of this, or you want to have a dialogue about it, put the comments into the comment field, and I'm happy to interact with you. I'd love to hear your questions, and I'd really love to continue the conversation. Please click the subscribe button and give this video a quick thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram at Lucky Mommy. And let me hear your questions and your feedback and any comments or topics that you'd like for me to cover. And I'm happy to add those to my list and try to get to those as soon as possible. Thank you for joining me on this quest to raise a thriving future generation, and I will see you soon.